This podcast contains detailed plot spoilers, adult language, and mature themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back to a podcast of Rare Antiquities. Today again, we are continuing our review of Star Trek Picard Season 3. Today we are going to do episodes 4 and 5. My name is Harry, and I'll be your host for today's show.
Okay. I guess I'm Jeff. I don't know. We haven't been introducing ourselves in a while, so...
I like to keep you on your toes, Jeff.
Yes, apparently so. And mission accomplished.
There you go. I think we have one more passenger today.
Yeah, sorry. Was that my cue to jump in there? Sorry.
That's right.
And this is Nathan, in some capacity, I guess. I don't know.
Welcome back, guys. How are you guys doing?
Doing pretty good, actually, yeah.
All right. Episode 5 dropped today. Just finished watching it. Jeff, I think you just said the same thing. So let's get right into it here. So again, we want to talk about this high level and breeze through the episode. We'll just talk about episode 4 first. So we'll isolate this one. So a couple things I'd like to break it out into a few things here to just kind of organize our thoughts. One is just the MacGuffin of the episode. Episode 3 had left off with Vadic portaling the torpedoes and Riker saying, fuck you to Picard and get off the bridge. And they're starting a descent into this nebula. They have no power. So I'd like to talk about just that whole plot about them dealing with this problem and them getting out of it. And then another aspect to the episode, which we'll break separately, is stuff about Vadic. And then the next thing also will be the Jack and Picard scenes together where they're on the holodeck bar. I think those are the main 3 things. I know other things happen and are sprinkled in the episode, and you can move them into whichever section you want to talk about that. Like, you have Beverly doing stuff and there's Shaw and Seven doing stuff, but they kind of weave in and out of these main threads. So let's start with just the main MacGuffin and the plot. They're trying to get out of the nebula, and they successfully do so. But let's talk about all this stuff. So, Jeff, give me your thoughts just regarding this aspect of the episode here.
Felt like a welcome classic Star Trek type of plot where we're stuck in this situation, in this whatever random sci-fi situation, and we need to put our heads together and science the shit out of it. So that was great. Stuck in a nebula, Star Trek. Fantastic. I think they overplayed the direness of the situation. Like, well, there's no way out of this. We're all goners. And like, we're watching this show. It's episode 4. Like, we know there's a way out of this. You're going to get out of this. So,
can I expand on that? So the first point I wrote down, literally on the sheet, is what the fuck? Why are they just giving up immediately? Beverly's on top of things. And this is a shout out to Beverly. She's the star here. And probably episode 4 and 5 to me. She's on top of things. She's doing Starfleet stuff. And she has agency. What the fuck is going on with Riker and Picard? And especially Riker here. We're just going to give up. And he goes into this trauma shit about his child and why he left to come be with Picard and go on this adventure. Even though in episode 1, they were dealing with the trauma, the family trauma of the loss of Thaddeus. Together as Riker and Troy. I know he drops a line saying, Troy doesn't want me dealing with this dark stuff, so I decided to, jettison myself off that planet, which isn't healthy for their relationship. So he's escaping that, and he says, I found this void again, and I can't escape it. I'm just giving up. And Picard essentially does the same thing, and so does Shaw, essentially. Like, what's going on with him? I know he is in a cast, Crimea River. It's his ship. It's his crew. And he just sits in his quarters, and then I know he comes around at the end and helps out a little bit. But I'm just perplexed about the agency of these characters. There's no authenticity. It's forced drama to me. I thought I'd just ask you guys this. It bugged me.
Shaw's on drugs, so there's that. I'm not going to hold him to it.
Well, what do you mean? Medical drugs because he was injured?
Yeah. He's on painkillers. They say as much.
Well, I'm not going to let that fly. But anyways, I've been on painkillers too. Doesn't mean I just give up on my life. But anyways, let's continue.
Well, if somebody gave you strong painkillers and dropped you into a black hole at the same time, you know what I mean? Like,
you are
I've been on painkillers too, but nobody dropped me. Like, nobody pushed me off of a ledge after they gave me the painkillers. I might have a different opinion. The giving up is
immediately. Like, they don't scan, they don't do anything. It's just, nope, we're done. Lost power, and Riker leaves his bridge. That's the problem I have here. It's the way they execute the story. It's like one thing, like Beverly's doing some investigation, but they don't even bother scanning and talking about, what about this? What about this? What about this option? And then they can do that. I want to give you guys an example, and it's maybe a poor example. In TNG, there was that Nagilum episode that we've talked about briefly before, Jeff, and
love that
episode, which is a great episode.
Where Silence Has Lease. One of my
That's
favorites.
correct.
Yeah,
That's
one of the highlights of season 2.
Exactly. Agreed. Now, what they do, they don't give up. They not fight Nagilum, but they're trying to figure out a way out of all of this. Then they take maybe 5 minutes because it seems that there is no escape. But they did all that they could before they reached that point, and then they have a sit-down discussion about death and what that means. And that's a good Star Trek character moment. And I don't mind Riker and Picard and all these people having their moments. And Picard will talk to Jack because it's, potential end of days, and we need downtime in a show, which was a little bit more actiony previously. So this is a breather episode. Fine. I just don't like how they presented it. It's like, it's an immediate give up to me. I don't know if you guys felt that way. That's how it felt to me.
I'm with you, Harry. Every Star Trek series, I'm not sure about Discovery, but certainly like everything from even the original series all the way up through Enterprise, they've had episodes where like, we are fucked if we don't figure this out right now. And yes, like in the episode you're referring to with Nagilum, when they're going to kind of like blow up the ship, that happens like towards the end of the episode. And before that, they're trying everything. And I was so shocked that it's like, we've got no power. I mean, there's a little bit of lip service sort of at the start of like trying to figure out how to like power things or whatever. I think the problem is that in all the other shows where we've seen this done better, they have like the regular cast, like who are strong performers in their roles, like saying, okay, we can do this, we can try that. But the crew of this ship is so bizarre in that it's like their first day on the job and everyone's freaking out. And when they hit that bar, it's like everyone is just resigned to death immediately out of the gate.
Funny thing is like, I think the LaForge character and whoever the other ensign is on the bridge, who's pilot navigating the ship or whatever, or the Vulcan science officer, I didn't get any, let's just throw my hands up in the air, we give up. This is coming from Riker and Picard.
That's true. I mean, although I will say, I do like the general premise, as Jeff said, like where this is very Star Trek, and like some of my favorite bottle episodes. DS9 had a couple like this that I thought were really great. But yeah, like him kind of giving up, and also like it's kind of weird that they just kind of get into the drama, the character pieces like right away, as opposed to a lot of the things that we love about Trek is just like the technobabble stuff, right? And I don't know, I'm sort of in between, I guess, kind of on it between you guys as far as like, I don't know where I fall.
Okay, Jeff, sorry, I know I kind of stopped your thought process, but what do you think about that?
I get the impression that you had something to say about that.
I have a lot of things to say in these 2 episodes, Jeff, so let's continue.
Listen, I hear what you're saying. I really do. And I didn't get, it was back and forth for me. I didn't quite get well, we're done. Everybody go about your business about it. So like character by character, they were in a dire situation. They didn't really even have any power to research what was going on, right? And I think that there were certain aspects going on that the groundwork's been laid for that made sense to me for the episode. One, like Riker, and there's a couple things going on here, but what they set up for him is he's gone through a lot of darkness and he hasn't reckoned with any of it. But this is his opportunity to try to reckon with it at least, and to say how sorry he was, and, kind of like face all of this darkness that he just couldn't deal with before. And he's like, well, this is very likely it, and it's now or never. And he knows that he needs to do it in a similar way with Picard, where he is trying so desperately to get to know his son. And why even bother if we're going to be dead to get to know somebody, like we're both going to be gone. But in this future in Star Trek, they're not, or rather their culture doesn't fear death. They understand that these are the things that are going to happen. So the desperation doesn't exist for them because they know that this is what they signed up for, and they know that like death is just a thing that happens to everybody, and their evolved sensibilities have allowed them to move past some of that inability to reckon with that concept that we all struggle with. And they've shown that plenty of times in episodes in the past. It's not always consistent though, so I can hear the argument against, but that's kind of what I got. And
okay, can I add then another layer to this? So we can talk, so Beverly comes up, because we're still talking about this one concept about the plot MacGuffin to get out of the nebula. So Beverly's on top of things, seeing that this is probably some kind of organic contraction. It's a life form. They can use the waves, those energy pulses, bioelectric energy pulses, to surf out of the nebula. Very cool. I love this concept. Like we talked about, you guys already mentioned, this is something that we do in a bottle episode of Star Trek. They figure out the problem and then they ride it out, and that's cool. I like all that. But even as Beverly and Jack describe the plan with Picard to Riker, he still says, he said before, we're dead in 4 hours or less. And then he goes, are you guys insane? We should just sit here and wait to be rescued. This is lit. I watched the episode again today, guys. He literally says that. And it's fucking stupid. So this is a writing problem.
Well,
this is where I'm coming from.
His logic was like, we need to conserve energy to last as long as possible in the hopes that somebody's going to rescue us.
But no one's coming into that nebula, though. So there's no logic to what he's saying. You know what I mean? And they're outside of Federation space as well. So who's
but they also know that Vadic wants Jack.
Yes.
They know that. They want him alive. So they're banking on the possibility that will be rescued, or they will not necessarily, doesn't have to be Federation. It's like the strategy is we're out of options. We need to conserve our resources. Our hope is that just by blind dumb luck, somebody is going to find us. It's not a great strategy, but like, it's like the Titanic going under. I mean, like, what are you going to do? Like, you're hoping to get rescued, right? All those lifeboats.
I think the issue at hand, though, and Harry, tell me if this is kind of how you feel, is that Riker is uncharacteristically passive about all of this. Like, normally you'd think he would be more welcoming of, like, suggestions to get them out of there. I understand, like, I agree.
Yeah, that's like, where I'm coming from.
He's got, like, okay, we got to conserve as much energy as possible. But the problem, though, is that, like, the situation does not it's not like they've sent out a distress signal. Yes, Vadic wants Jack alive, but that does not necessarily, like, he's not working towards, like, okay, if we can just contact her and, like, make a deal.
Yeah, like you could have sent out a beacon if that's his plan, hope that Vadic could be the one, because she does want, that's what you're saying, Jeff, is logical. But then they could have solved that problem in the writer's room, and they say, okay, then they're going to send out a beacon of where they're located. Hopefully then Vadic will track that down. And that's what they're hoping for. Instead, it's just do nothing. That's the problem. That's what the episode shows us. And they do it for the forced drama and tension about the loss of his child. And I'm all for exploring that with Riker. And I think it should be more organically spread out through the season. And we know Troy will eventually probably come back in the season instead of just on screen there. And then he can then have these words to her that he has here in this episode at the end once they do escape the nebula and say, I'm now looking at, I have refound some joy and hope in my life because I saw that death and that void and I chose to be more positive and live. And not just live physically, but live with you and the remaining child, which is what he should be doing. But anyway, we're segregating, but that's kind of where I am. To me, forced drama and tension, which to me betrays the character of Riker and others and their experience and intelligence. And that's where my problem lies here. It's a nitpick, but I mean, it's just very strange to me. For time, let's move on. So let's talk about Vadic here. What's going on? Is she a changeling? She's answering to something that looks like a changeling. The special effects make it seem that way. So what's happening here? She cuts off her hand. She's outside the nebula. And then she answers to some other thing there.
Yeah.
Nathan or anyone. Oh, the floor's open.
No, let Nathan go.
Okay, so I mean, I immediately got the impression that she's a changeling because I think at this point, like, we've now seen the changeling on the Titan change, right? And it's like, okay, we sort of see like the style, I guess, that they're going to use for the show. And so when she cuts her hand off, it's very similar. So I don't know why you need to use her flesh, for lack of a better term, I guess it's actually to animate the face. So it's like, you have holographic technology.
Well, I wonder if they have, like...
It seems pretty sadistic, actually.
I wonder if they have, like, something with their physiology to communicate. Like kind of like the mycelial network in Discovery where, like, it's that organism that allows that sort of extra...
Right, yeah.
Spatial whatever. So, I don't know. Maybe that's part of it. Well, maybe we'll find out. But yeah, it was a little weird.
Yeah, it was a little weird, although I'm not really convinced, though, that who she was talking to was necessarily another changeling, which would have made sense if it was like they have like a way to communicate like over the Great Link, if I remember, if that's what it was called in DS9, like over subspace or something like that.
Well, I don't know if they could communicate like that over subspace, but.
Well, no, anyway. But I mean, maybe now, right? Because we'll learn later that they've sort of kind of upped their game a little bit, right? So.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I always kind of like it when you have like badass villain who's now like, oh, there's somebody more badass than them. It's kind of tropey, but I always do kind of like that because it at least gives like maybe some depth to certain types of villains who like not everyone can be Khan, right? So I kind of like having like a villain who's like, okay, you know, even I answer to someone. I liked a lot of just kind of like the look of it and like kind of like just sort of the weirdness of just using like her body in order to like embody this communication device. It's weird. I do sort of like, okay, we're kind of utilizing like some of the weirdness that the changelings are. I don't know. There wasn't really kind of much else there, although I did have to wonder like, very kind of lackadaisical about like actually trying to get Jack. Well, he's in the nebula. It's just like, well, you better go get it. It's like, well, I guess. And that happens like later in the episode a little bit, it feels like. So not a lot of hustle on Vatican.
No, there wasn't a lot of hustle.
No, there wasn't a lot of hustle. However, she did say that them going back into the nebula would harm their ship.
Yeah.
The weapons that they had, based on the scans of the nebula, it would actually do a lot of damage to their ship. And I believe they actually jettison the portal technology.
Yeah, they did.
Before they go back into the nebula because of that.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was some cool scenes. I mean, I do like the look of like the interior of the ship. It kind of reminds me of some old school Trek, like from the movies and the early seasons of TNG, how they would show Klingon ships. Mm-hmm. It's like dark and smoky and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think it looks cool. There wasn't really enough Vadic in this.
Yeah,
for me. I just feel like Plummer just needs like a bit more to do.
Yeah,
I guess. So I'm hoping she gets more later.
And yeah, I'll jump in and then Jeff, you can finish this topic off. I mean, I agree with you, Nathan. It's kind of cool to see that there's a bigger player involved. So I don't mind, and I liked all of the visual effects, and it was kind of weird and cool, and I'm open to the new idea, and we'll talk about changelings evolving and all that stuff. So all of that's fine. Makes sense. I liked it. But just with Amanda Plummer, I was hoping that she would be the bad. You know, so there's part of me that's a bit disappointed. We'll see how this all plays out. I was kind of a little disheartened to see that she was now answering and she's a subordinate to somebody else or something else. And that was kind of a bit disappointing for me to learn that, even though it was kind of cool. But again, it still could work out very, very well. How about just to finish off Vadic, because she's not in a lot of the episode, she does go back into the nebula, and at the end, Riker throws, as they're riding the wave out, Riker does throw the asteroid against the ship with the tractor beam. Again, awesome scene. And one other thing I'd like to point out is that I like how Riker gave Picard the captain's chair again, so he could do the maneuvering thrusters like he did. It was a throwback to one of those episodes where they were in the booby trap in the asteroid field, where he had to use the thrusters, Picard, to navigate around the asteroids. So I think this was a throwback to that, and I liked how Riker recognized that, and then Picard finally in the action, the captain's chair. So I dug all that stuff. But so Jeff, you talk about Vadic and just the conclusion of them escaping the nebula and all that stuff.
Was that episode called Booby Trap?
I think it was called Booby Trap, yeah.
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
Booby Trap?
Booby Trap. Yeah, no, absolutely. That was a great callback there. This is a nitpick, but so you had one person calling out
coordinates, right?
The coordinates, and then Picard punching it in and then calling out instructions for somebody else to punch in the coordinates to come in. I'm like, you could probably eliminate one of these layers here. Just
no middleman.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
One person. Yeah,
speed this up a bit. But a cool callback.
It's very Star Trek though, because like that's one thing in Star Trek I've always kind of thought was funny was that when they have to like basically like line up something or time something perfectly, it's somebody saying now and somebody does it based on somebody like visually watching something on a screen, which should be on occasion like beyond human perception, and they still get it done. Star Trek, I mean, that's in sci-fi a lot, but like Star Trek does it all the time.
Star Trek, it is.
This is a Star Trek thing, yes.
Yeah,
agreed.
The only solution to that, and they smartly realized that it was dumb, is in Star Trek Insurrection when the joystick pops up out of the console and Riker's steering the ship. It's like,
bring that up.
Yeah, it's like, let's go back to shouting coordinates. That worked a lot better.
I purged that from my memory bank.
Yeah.
Thanks for that one.
That was so weird that they did that. Anyway, I would have liked to see more of Attic. I think she's great. Obviously we're going to see more of her later. I was confused. I guess, see, here's what I thought. I thought that she wasn't a changeling, but I thought that she was somehow like merged with a changeling.
You thought, or that's what you think?
Well, that's what I thought at the time.
I guess they don't actually explicitly spell out that she is a changeling, but she reabsorbs her hand, right?
Yeah, but why did she look like it hurt when she cut it off? I was like, that's why I was like, there's something like grafted onto her.
Or we'll get into the next episode where they're actually becoming more evolved, these changelings, and that could be the thing.
So that's probably more the explanation. That's why, so maybe that's why she did that. So, and that, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, either way is fine. But yeah, I can't wait to see more of her.
Okay, awesome. How about the end, just with Riker throwing the asteroid out, just to wrap this up before they go to Worf and escape the nebula?
Very cool. No, it was great. They seem to have good action instincts in this film. Like we've referenced Insurrection and like Nemesis. And those films had really tepid action sequences, and they were trying to be more sort of swashbuckling. Well, even First Contact tried to be more like adventure movies as opposed to Star Trek sci-fi. I guess a lot of the Star Trek movies are like that. I think what they've done a good job of capturing here is that cinematic Star Trek sensibility, where this is an adventure story, less, traditional Star Trek. And I feel like, for the most part, they're really pulling off some of those action beats. They're not shying away from the starship action. Even when you watch the movies, they always struggled with how to make the starship action really work, and it's usually really minimal, right? Mm-hmm. And they're diving headlong in this series.
Yes, and very cinematic. Yeah. I agree.
I think they're doing a really good job with it. Yeah, it was awesome.
How about you, Nathan? Just to wrap up this point in the episode, the action scene there, Riker throwing the asteroid. Any other comments?
No, I mean, I thought it looked cool, some nice throwbacks. And yeah, like it's certainly one of the better, like kind of action sequences out of like a Star Trek show, I guess. Yeah. Which is typically not like an action series. So it's like a weird thing where it's like, it should be more like submarine action, but they don't want to go fully Star Wars with it. So it's always like a weird hybrid, but I thought it was actually pretty exciting the way that the episodes end, and just like the tension of getting out of the nebula and stuff like that was, I thought, really cool.
Okay. Agreed. Okay, another point just in this episode, just to move along here, we talk about like some of the downtime. So mainly Jack and Picard in the holodeck bar as they're waiting for death instead of figuring things out, as we've talked about. But just their conversation, what did you guys think of them two together, and anything you've learned about the characters here? Nathan, how about yourself?
You know what? Nothing there worked for me. Not really. I mean, I kind of wish there was not like a reconciling of like father and son coming together. One thing we haven't really brought up is like the flashbacks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That they interspersed throughout the episode. When actually the episode first started like 5 years ago, I was like, ugh.
Actually, I think they've started every episode so far this year except for episode 5, the next one, with flashbacks. Yeah.
Yes, and that is like one of my most hated TV tropes of like 5 years ago, a week ago, 5 minutes. I was like, I hate that. And they even did that, like they've done that throughout Picard, the TV series, a number of times. Anyway. I don't know, like, I don't even really remember much about their conversation.
There's a couple of nice little things, I think, like, I love the point that they make the hair joke, because the first thing he goes, let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Hang on.
The father-son dynamic. It's about the hair.
The hair. Okay. And that really bugged me because, like, okay.
It comes from the mom's side.
It comes from the mom's side. And, like, in the 25th century, you assholes should have figured it out.
That's not true. That's a myth that it comes from the mother's side.
Is it?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah. But on the other hand, it is also true that by the 25th century, probably they'd have sorted it out.
Well, not only sorted out, but like the whole idea though of, cause I remember
they don't
care. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, they don't care.
They're not supposed to care.
They're not vain. Even though they are vain, they're not vain.
Well, there's a lot of things we thought about the future that shouldn't be true and yet are, as we'll get to in the next episode, I think. So
there's another interesting point here. Picard says, what are you, 22, 23 years old? My goodness, the actor looks like he's in his late 30s, early 40s.
He's in his mid to late 30s.
So it's like, I don't know what the fuck.
He's not in his late 30s.
Ed Spielers? You feel free to look it up. I'm just saying he looks like
22. He's not as young as he says he is.
But he looks old, is what I'm saying. He's not he doesn't have that youthful look. Even, how some actors, even though they're older, they can play younger characters. He is not one of those type of actors. That's just what I thought. But I did like their conversation a little bit there. I'll just kind of make this other point. So the episode ends still about Picard and Jack. So you talked about those flashbacks. The end of the episode shows that Jack actually did try and visit Picard with all those cadets were asking him, in the flashback 5 years ago about Picard's adventure on this and that. And he's saying, we got to work as a team. And as long as you're with your crewmates and you trust each other, you'll get out of any scenario. There's no such thing as a no-win scenario. Then Stranger Jack asks Picard, just because he's just a patron in the bar, well, what about family? And then Picard goes, well, Starfleet was my family. And then that was the test that Jack gave his biological father when other Starfleet cadets are, pestering Picard, and he's supposed to be a role model saying, what is he going to do? Starfleet's not enough to these young cadets? And I wish I should have dropped all of this shit and had had a family in front of these cadets, and that's the test that Jack gave his father? I found that ridiculous. That's just me. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about.
I kind of do.
He's testing Picard about family. This is like in the past, 5 years ago. So Picard doesn't know who Jack is.
He's also like some weird shady guy with a ball cap, sitting back at the
That's right.
bar there.
But what did he expect Picard to say? He's in front of like a dozen cadets.
Yeah.
Who are, just over him. Well, what did he say? Starfleet's not enough?
Well,
no, find another career?
No, but it's at the same time, it's probably pretty well known that Picard, he doesn't have a family. So, why would he say, I so wish I had, a family? I don't know. It's kind of a weird scene. I don't know. I did kind of like it in the sense that, he sort of sees, the man, the myth, and the legend all at the same time. Talking to these cadets who, are really rude. Should let the man, finish his lunch.
Yes, that's
which I feel like that scene was based on Sir Patrick's, real life. People
yeah. I'm just trying to have some fish and chips here, you assholes.
Yeah.
That's right. Any comments there, Jeff? I think it's a little unfair on Jack to judge him in this manner, in that scenario.
People act unfairly sometimes.
Oh, you disappoint me.
They do, though, right? He would have been 17 years old in that scene.
Or Ed Spielers.
Ed Spielers is 35 right now, so they filmed this 2.5 years ago, so early 30s. But in that scene, he's 17, right? That's the math, right? So, I don't expect a 17-year-old to treat people fairly. I kind of liked the sort of thread of it where he's just trying to have lunch and these douchebags are coming up and being and fanboying out in front of him. And at first he's a little okay, sure, no problem. And then he's into it, which is great because I feel like that actually probably does speak to their real life experiences. As people come up and it's oh man, but then they do love it. They keep doing it. And they do love it. And what I think, the meta aspect of it is when they actually do deal with respectful, maybe overzealous, but devoted fans who actually do want to know about them, they probably start getting into it. So that started to that was really working for me as it went. It broke a little bit for me. This is just a nitpick in his delivery of the line at the end where Jack comes in and he's like, what about family and all that? And he's like, he says it so derisively. Well, Starfleet's the only family I ever needed, or words to that effect. He said it so dismissively of biological family. That was what didn't ring true to me because we know that family actually was important to him. Not necessarily getting a wife and having kids part of the family because he's already told us in the past to kind of let go of that. But, he had a brother and his nephew and, tragically lost them and all of that. So part of that did matter to him. So I don't think the delivery was quite there. Again, that's okay. That it set Jack off kind of makes sense. Was it fair? No, but he's a fucking kid he went there to try to, we don't know. Maybe we'll get.
I just look at it as a very strange way to judge somebody. It's one thing if he was the one who approached him pretending to be the fanboy and they had a one-on-one and Picard just forgot his face. And at that point, because they look at the end there, Picard, at the end of this episode when that happened, Picard then, it's a weird thing. It's Picard suddenly remembered that one scene in his memory. Oh, we know Jack was there. No,
we don't know that.
I know.
We don't know that for sure.
Yes, you're right. But it's just how it's presented to the audience. But what
Also,
would have worked better is
Harry,
that...
everybody knows when you're wearing a baseball cap, nobody recognizes you. Everybody knows that.
Okay, fair enough. No, but you know where I'm coming from? I think it would have been interesting if it was actually Jack who came and fanboyed over him and then grilled him and figured all that out.
That might have been interesting. I don't disagree with that rewrite. I think that probably...
And that would have triggered Picard, because he was asking, why didn't you come and me or seek me out and all that stuff. And then Picard has that memory. Well, shit, now I know where he's from.
It's like, oh yeah, fuck, I must have lost that in the fucking transfer to the synthetic body that I now occupy.
One isolinear chip.
Sorry, kid. Yeah.
Okay, last thing I want to bring up in this episode, very quickly. Shaw bringing up Wolf 359 in, I'm a little confused. I know you're talking about painkillers and all this stuff, but he could walk around. Shouldn't he be going to the bridge and saying, I have a responsibility to my crew? Even though I handed over captaincy to Riker as a temporary measure, I know this ship like the back of my hand. I should be doing what I can. Instead, he seems so disinterested in that, and his focus is to berate Picard about Wolf 359. I'm not a fan of this at all.
He said he was on drugs and that he shouldn't be saying this.
I don't care. I don't like this neuroses from this character. He's unfit to be captain. Yeah, I'll give you an example. No, I'll give you an example. So I wrote this down. This first thing that came to my head. Miles O'Brien, both in TNG and on DS9, there's a couple episodes, and him dealing with, people poking at his potential racism or prejudice through Cardassians. But he doesn't let it shake him. Even though deep down inside, there's a bias, or whatever you want to call it. But it doesn't let him shake his responsibility in how he acts. This is a role model. This is someone who I have verisimilitude and authenticity. I can believe he's in Starfleet. Now I'm presented with this douchebag captain who swears every other word, who's into pot. Oh, I wish we were talking about pot so I can get even more high. And we're facing death, and I'm just going to walk around and bitch about Wolf 359. Let it go, dude. This is bullshit. Again, that's just me. I'm not a fan of this character. I know you guys will disagree.
Yeah, I don't disagree that he's a dick, but
just let it go.
Yeah, just let it go. The fact that I was in this extraordinarily traumatic situation where thousands of people were murdered in cold blood.
Just let it go, bro. It's not Picard's fault. It's not. He's able to quote almost every single mission. He does it again next episode about other things that Picard and Riker got into, but he doesn't have the details that Picard was kidnapped, tortured, and not at fault. He just believes it. Well, let it go. Have some sense of maturity and let it go. It's ridiculous. I don't know.
It is far from ridiculous. It's totally believable. He's not right.
You dislike your assholes a little too much there.
Okay, so you think that Sisko was wrong then?
But he came around right away.
No, not right away. He didn't.
Oh my goodness.
Took him a lot longer than Shaw did.
I don't think so.
It did. It took him 2 whole episodes.
We're on episode 4. Anyways, and 5.
It's only been 2 episodes since he's met Picard.
Okay. Anyways.
Yeah, but also keep in mind, it's not like, they harbored that for 2 episodes. No, they've been harboring that for years. And for Shaw, it's a lot longer. Yeah, a couple of probably 40 years. Yeah, so at least in Sisko's case, it's been not it was 5 years or something like that to get over it. And people harbor all sorts of weird shit. I'm not saying that he's a fit captain or a good Starfleet captain. I just kind of appreciate the idea that in Starfleet sometimes there just are lesser captains.
Lesser captains, fair enough. I'm just saying I'm not a fan. That's all. It's just he's already a dick, and now he's going to dick squared, and then he'll be going to dick cubed, and then dick whatever. It's exponential every episode.
To the fifth dimension.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, let's transition into episode 5, because episode 4 ends with this kind of nightmarish scene of Jack experiencing some shit in the mirror, some red vines and whatever's going on. And this episode begins with him having kind of it's a fake out scene. He's having these visions or a dream of him killing the bridge crew. And then he has red eyes, he's kind of like a Sith Lord, like Palpatine, watch out. So obviously some shit's going down with him. And he's going to be some kind of destroyer or something like that. He's going to be, I don't know. We'll find out. But what do you guys think of that? What's going on with Jack here? Later on in the episode, he does the John Wick stuff. He admits later to Beverly he killed all those changelings. He didn't even know they were changelings. He just decided to kill them because they were a threat. I think that's the intent we're supposed to get from it. So why don't we talk about those scenes? Just Jack. What's happening? I know the changelings want him, but what do you think?
What's going on there?
Well, we don't know, but I guess another question I have, Jeff, with all of this stuff that's going on, now it's completely centered. We talked about convenience currency. Is this too convenient now? Now it's Picard's biological son, long lost son, and all of this shit is going down, and he's like something evil, or I don't know. We'll find out what's happening, but I don't know. What's your thoughts? Too convenient? Interesting?
It's not necessarily too convenient or not yet, just because we don't really know the answer. Maybe. Maybe it's convenient.
We'll have to see, yeah.
We just kind of have to see, and I'm fine with not knowing.
I have a hard time believing that it's not going to tie into the fact that it has something to do with, like, lineage and bloodline, basically, right? Like, I mean, like, they want him, they didn't just, like, want Jack, and then, it turns out to be Picard's son. I think that, like, even if it's as dumb as, I actually got kind of the impression, because we saw this in episode 4 a little bit at the very end. We see it again in 5, where there's like a voice that says, "Find me." I was really reminded of kind of like in Star Trek First Contact, where Picard could sort of hear the Borg a little bit, because there's like some element that's still there. It's like, does his son still kind of carry something like that? Because I wonder.
Yeah, is this some Borg stuff? I had that thought too.
Yeah, I don't know. So it could be something like that, where it's not necessarily. I would be very disappointed if it was just, it just happens to be Picard's son, but they want him for reasons entirely different altogether.
It must be some bad batch of vintage Picard vineyard that he drank, that passed through Picard's sperm, impregnated.
Wow,
that wine was so badly corked.
It was terrible.
It's in his blood now.
Yeah, that's right.
Some, like, really snobby, like some wine snobs out there. They're like, the Chateau Picard 2368 was dog shit, and we're going to execute your son over it.
I would love it. That's the whole episode. That would be great.
That's it.
I would stand up and applaud.
Yeah. Slow clap for Star Trek Picard season 3.
It's still better than the previous 2 seasons. Awesome.
Boy.
Most of season 1 and then all of 2 and 3, it's all just like a Picard's fever dream, actually, because he drank
that bad wine. Yeah.
It's like
he just like
wake up
wakes
like
up.
Bob Newhart.
No, you know what he's going to do? He's going to wake up in the holodeck during a simulation of the finale of Star Trek Enterprise.
Oh boy.
Awesome. I hope that's the case. That'd be great. Okay, let's talk about Raffi and Worf now. So we didn't see them in episode 4. So just your thoughts. I'll floor open to what's going on with these two characters. And they're going after this guy named Krill because Sneed is dead. He is a gangster Vulcan who knows something about the stolen weapons and stuff that's going on in the Daystrom Institute. I have a question. How does, obviously, people know about this Daystrom Institute? I don't know how Starfleet's not more involved, but it could be because Starfleet's now compromised, so that's one of the reasons, probably. But just your thoughts, just Worf, Raffi, the stuff that's going on with them, and, Worf's Rise of Skywalker fake-out death there.
Gangster Vulcan's not a thing I thought anybody'd ever say. I'm here for it.
Yes, so am I.
I like Kirk Acevedo.
Is that the Vulcan?
Yeah.
I like that actor too.
Yeah.
What's he been in?
He was in Fringe for a little bit, and I don't know what a shrift is, but he got the short one on Fringe, and I don't really know why.
Yeah.
When I saw him, I'm like, oh, is that Kirk? Oh, it is, too. Cool. He had, like, the Idic necklace going on there, which is pretty dope.
Yeah.
And I liked him. It's an interesting character, but he kind of stole the part of the episode for me. A little bit.
It kind of gets to this weird thing as Star Trek has kind of evolved. And it's like, I like the idea of, a gangster Vulcan and, can sort of, and there's not enough TV show here to really explore that idea.
Yeah.
But the problem though is that like in the future, like we're talking like a why is there crime? What are you doing?
Well,
you
no,
have
because
replicators.
The Federation, for the most part, is a post-scarcity society. But outside of that, you have replicators, but you need, replicators work on, matter energy conversion, which takes ungodly amounts of energy. So you need, that energy's got to come from somewhere.
I guess.
Therefore, there is going to be scarcity for places that don't have it. Therefore, there's an economy, and when there's economy, there's crime. So it kind of fits. The culture of the Federation, when we see it in Star Trek, and they've explored this, underneath, which is not always true, is that, like, they just have abundance of energy. So it doesn't matter. This is not a Federation world.
Well, I don't want to, like, get too down this rabbit hole, but it's like, why don't people just then, like, emigrate into the Federation? It feels like it's overly welcoming to people.
Because they don't want to drink the root beer.
I was just going to say that.
Oh, God.
I was just going to say root beer.
Cheers. I know Harry's not a big fan of Michelle Hurd, but I think that she and Doran...
No, I liked her in this episode. Finally.
Yeah, she was good. They have pretty good chemistry. I like them together.
I wouldn't say it's amazing chemistry, but it's
not
improvement.
But it's an improvement. I like the fight scene. I think Doran got in a couple action scenes there instead of a stunt double. Very cool to see.
He's meditating like Qui-Gon, like a boss.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because he is a boss. He is a boss like Qui-Gon. No. Qui-Gon's a boss like Worf. Worf's the original boss.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
I love both.
No, I didn't say you shouldn't love. I didn't say anything against Qui-Gon, but like he came after.
Qui-Gon's my man. He has replaced Luke Skywalker for me. He's the boss.
It's the goatee, isn't it?
No, he's just the goat. Qui-Gon.
It's not the goatee.
There's not goatee. He's just the goat.
I think they're drawing this stuff out a little bit too much. Like, Raffi goes to this place, to the crime lord, and they kill the guy, and they go back to the ship, and they talk to the computer again, and then they go back to the world. Like, it's a little bit repetitive. Like, they're just, like, they are drawing it out and feel the stretch in the story here.
Yeah.
So, I think they needed to, like, tighten this up a little bit. Doesn't need to take as much time as it's taking. It's got filler written all over it. But now that I say that, seasons 1 and 2 of Picard were like 98% filler, and
this is like 10%.
And at least the filler's watchable.
Mm-hmm. That's correct. I agree, 100%. I like the little switcheroo as well, with the mobile emitter that Raffi's, and then
also
still the tables
the Total Recall maneuver,
which is, please refresh my memory.
It's Total Recall, the mobile
the hologram switcheroo they do in the Alien.
Oh yes, that is correct. Shame on you.
I don't know if that's the Arnold maneuver. I'm trying to adapt it to Star Trek, which is why I was like,
you had to say, you think this is the real Raffi? Or
it is.
That's right. I like that, but I will say this. I knew right away Worf was not going to die when she stabbed him, and because I knew also he would have won. He's letting it. I would have said, even if it wasn't the immediate, he would go behind the scenes right away, take those guys down, and turn the tables on the bad guys. But I felt he would have just left himself open with the trust that she would have stabbed him in a non-vital area and then play dead. So I knew that right away. But I did write down, if he died at the hands of Raffi, I'm done with this. I'm done with Star Trek forever. I wrote that Podcast is canceled. We're done.
I'm burning all my Blu-rays.
That's right.
I'm going to go watch The Rise of Skywalker.
Yes.
How bad it is.
Correct. That's the worst punishment. Anyways, but I dug all of that. Nathan, how about yourself? Talking about Worf and Raffi.
Yeah, it's a little sad that to actually give Raffi a better character, you got to pair her up with Worf. Because I just kind of found like the first couple of episodes with just her, it's just like, I just don't find her, parts of her character are compelling. I just think that the writing is really bad. But yeah, to see Doran show up, that was a lot of fun. I did sort of wonder why they didn't give him like the traditional batleth. I wonder if just like that more Klingon-y sword is just a little more, dynamic.
Batleths way back in First Contact, or even back in DS9. I think he moved to the swords.
Yeah, I think at First Contact is when you first saw it.
Well, I think, in First Contact we first saw it. He used those swords, and then on Deep Space Nine, he would have sparring sessions with Dax in the holodeck.
They both used it, yeah.
I think he said something about like how the Batleth was too slow. I could be misremembering this, but I'm pretty sure.
Did he not kill Gowron with a Batleth?
Well, he did, because it was that hand, and it was awesome.
Okay.
He did switch.
He did switch? Okay. I don't remember that specific from DS9, but I'll trust you on that. I guess it just kind of works a little better for an action scene. But yeah, I thought like a lot of that was pretty cool. I mean, I sort of thought that, overall, they're really dragging that out. I really did kind of like the idea of having Vulcan criminals. Although, even though I sometimes kind of question the idea of like, how does that work exactly? But
they weren't raised on Vulcan.
What's that?
They weren't raised on Vulcan.
I get that. But, he's still trying to sort of be Vulcan-esque of like, well, that's logical, sort of. It's like, well.
He turned criminal once they lost Spock Prime. That was it. That was the last straw for him.
Could be.
Yeah.
That's actually a legit explanation. Like, oh, man,
That is.
I'm out.
Life ain't the same. We're done as a species. Anyways, continue.
But yeah. I mean, there's not really much else to kind of say about it. I mean, I do sort of get a little bit annoyed when they try and do the fake out of like, oh, so-and-so is dead. It's like, no, this is not the last episode of this. Like, it just doesn't have
But they know that we know. We know that they know. But they're not trying to fake us out. We know.
But when you continually do it, it's like, I know you're not dead at the end of episode 3, the whole ship. And I get it. It's like, you gotta put them in danger and stuff like that. But it's just like, why are you continuing to kind of do it? So,
well, I think that's an issue with serialized storytelling, right? In a season, how do you make any stakes or put any tension? So obviously it's a little difficult to balance, right?
Right.
It's not Game of Thrones where anybody's fair game. Like they know that, but they still have to kind of be honest with the storytelling. And
yes, you have to put people in danger and such. I'm just sort of saying that's like, maybe sprinkle it in. You're not Game of Thrones. People don't need to be dying or like the fear of death like all the time, I guess. I don't know. There's just something that just rings a little bit weird to me when they sort of do that now. This is not the only show that does it, but.
Okay. Jeff, any other comments on Worf, Raffi, Gangster Vulcan, or should we move on? No. This Daystrom stuff's going to lead to Geordi and Lore.
That's what I was assuming too.
Yeah, it's got to be. So, anyways, okay, so let's talk about now the special cameo, guest appearance by Commander. Oh, we got the drum roll rolling on the background. Commander Ro Laren has come back and then leaves. Again, I guess. Let's have a chat about, the USS Intrepid. So they escaped, and Shaw had contacted Starfleet. So Starfleet sends the Intrepid. They send over Ro with a couple of security officers who eventually end up killing Ro because they're changelings. But let's talk about all this. Ro does reveal that Starfleet is compromised. Changelings are everywhere. We can also intervene the plot point because Beverly is, again, the star so far of the season to me now. On top of things, every episode, she is on her own investigating. And you're right, Nathan, the other doctor's a piece of shit on the Titan. She's the one investigating, making all the discoveries about the changeling, and she's, they've evolved. They can now replicate complete organs. So that means they can pass all the blood tests, they can pass transporters, I guess, or any other scans. And some of that is brought into the Ro aspect, because we're left second guessing ourselves, is she a changeling or not? Because as Beverly is doing her investigation saying, oh, they've evolved, and scans may not reveal, the traditional ways of detecting a changeling may not be the same anymore. And she sends that little message to Picard while he's being interrogated by Ro. Ro cuts herself saying, hey, see, here's my blood. I'm the real Ro. So you're left second guessing. That's kind of interesting. I thought I'd ask you guys how this all played out. Jeff, I'll give you the honors. Ensign Ro, now Commander Ro, is back. Your thoughts?
I love being surprised, and wow, I was surprised. What a great appearance. Didn't see it coming, and I'm so glad that they revisited her. I mean, maybe there's a lot of questions, and maybe it won't be satisfying to a lot of people, but I love Michelle Forbes. It was great to see her again. It was great to see Ro again. I loved it. And what I loved about it is that they didn't do the drum roll that you just asked for with the musical cue and like maybe the lighting, like da-da-da-da-da, it's Ro. Like, no, she's just walking down the hall. I'm like, is that? Because it's been, a couple decades. I'm like, is that Michelle Forbes? I'm like, oh shit. And she's just there. It was great to have her. At first, I kind of thought she was an imposter, but as we learned that she's not, their conversation in the bar was great. It was poignant. It felt really authentic. They got a lot out in a short period of time because obviously they don't have much with her, but that really worked for me. Like there was that sense in TNG when she was on, for a couple seasons as a recurring character, and that sort of mentor protege relationship that they had, but it kind of evolved past that. It almost felt in a sense like father-daughter, and now he's dealing with that, the legacy and having that parental role. This is sort of the child that he lost. I thought it was great. I thought she was fantastic in it. What a way to raise the stakes as well. She goes out in a tough way there. I thought it was fantastic. I loved it.
I, too, was, utterly surprised seeing her, because I had not read anything about Michelle Forbes potentially showing up or anything like that. Although I don't really keep up on any of the, potential spoilers for the show before it came out. But Anyway, seeing her there, I too thought that she was potentially a changeling after Beverly's discovery. And I just sort of think like a lot of their conversation was actually like really good as far as like that, I guess, reconciliation that they needed to have that never happened in TNG. Because that was the last season, I think, that she left.
Season 7 was the betrayal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was actually like a really smart move to have her come back in a way that can kind of have those two characters sort of like have the reconciliation that you never had in the show. So I thought that was well done. Yeah, and Michelle Forbes, you know, like she was definitely bringing it as the character. It's crazy. Everyone's like slipping right back into their roles so well in this show. But I guess like her explanation of like the potential conspiracy that's kind of going on, like it really reminded me of the Parasite invasion as well.
The episode Conspiracy.
Yeah.
The episode Conspiracy.
I actually wrote that down. Is there another thing here? Is that, you know, I don't think it's going to be the case, but the way this season's going, they're dropping every loose thread into this series. And that's another unresolved little threat. Where those creatures? And I'm wondering if that's another thing that's coming down the pipe here.
That'd be like cramming in too much.
Are they not already cramming in too much? I'm going to bring that up in a second.
Well, I guess we'll see, actually. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the idea of like them kind of taking over. It's funny, you guys, I don't think I've ever brought this up, but like I have a group of friends. This is quick. A group of friends that I play Dungeons and Dragons with, and we switched over to playing the Star Trek role-playing game. And then the first adventure we played takes place in the next-gen era, maybe more around like the Voyager era years. But it's like the parasites have come back, but you know, they've taken over like Romulans and Klingons and like trying to take over the Federation stuff. I started getting some of those vibes here, and I thought, like, why are they using changelings versus like the parasite thing, which was like it's such a fan favorite villain that they just never revisited. So anyway.
I mean, that's a good point. And I think like thematically they're revisiting that. As far as like the choice of creature, I think that was one episode. Well, it was more than one episode. It was only one episode where we saw the bugs.
I think I would prefer that over changelings, to be honest. But that's we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how.
I mean, I don't think we're going to see those bugs. I don't think this is part of that. I just think if you're making the choice, like, you know what, like that was one episode and there's these weird bugs. Let's use changelings. That's a little broader and they can do a bit more with the cat and mouse stuff on the some things like that.
Yeah, I think the changelings are like more threatening. Like ultimately, the parasites were not.
I just wanted another admiral to like roundhouse kick Riker or Worf,
and then eat some
it does
mealworms.
wonders for the body.
That is a really good episode, actually, underrated.
And then you get the screamer's headshot where the head blows up with the phaser room, and then the chest cavity opens up and the creature comes out. Yeah. I needed one of those. I just wanted the admiral roundhouse kick. That's what I wanted.
I would like that. Yeah. Not just the Admiral Roundhouse kick, but the geriatric Admiral.
Yeah, that's right. Vitamins.
That guy was like 88 years old.
You could have given Picard a great scene right there.
Picard's the one who's doing the roundhouse kick.
That's right.
That'd be incredible. Oh, boy. It is too bad they never really closed the loop on that, but I like thematically that they didn't really have the opportunity to really play that out. That was a really good episode. And so I'm into it, man. Like they're essentially doing what they couldn't do back then now. Such a cool idea. So I'm really excited to see it. But anyway, sorry, I cut you off.
Oh, no, I just more or less kind of trailed off, but I mean, I just think that her bringing like the whole conspiracy to Picard, I feel like, okay, we're at episode 5. I guess we got 5 more episodes. I sort of feel like this is, I don't know, I'm a little mixed on, is this where we're going to bring in that particular twist of Starfleet is being, well, not assimilated, maybe the wrong villain for that, but you know what I mean, like being infiltrated this way. Is this the right episode to kind of do that? I don't know. I felt kind of mixed on that, but I like the general idea of it. But the thing though, too, is that like bringing in the changelings and stuff like that and kind of like more DS9 elements, I really like that, but I sort of wish we would just sort of kind of get to it, you know, like can we just sort of get to the point a little bit more quickly so we can have more, I guess, like a little more drama without like having all this drama and then like, oh, and now the changelings are back and they're taking over the Federation.
If I may, I'll counterpoint. as I was watching.
No, Jeff, you may ask.
Oh, thank you. Actually, I say that all the time.
Oh, you do?
When people say, like, can I ask you a favor? I always say, well, you may ask.
You have to do it the right way with the.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
I mean, it's usually over Zoom, but I do it all the time.
Excellent.
All the time.
Bravo, sir. Bravo.
Yeah. There are certain movie lines that are in my DNA. This is part of my personality now, as are, I'm sure, the two of you, because we're a bunch of nerds, and that's how we roll.
I have found that I'm unable to do that in my current job. No one I work with watches movies.
Yeah, no. I do it to people who don't appreciate it. Nobody knows it, but I still do it, you know? Like, I don't care.
Yeah, I know. People just won't get it. That's all.
That's fine. The one I use the most is, this is off topic, and we can edit this out later, but...
No, it stays in. Keep going.
There's a line in Pulp Fiction, when John Travolta and Uma Thurman are having dinner in the diner, in the old 50s diner. You know, John Travolta says something, and she's like, oh, you're pretty smart. And he's like, yeah, I got my moments. I say that all the time. Nobody's fucking like, oh, Pulp Fiction. Like, no, I know you don't. But, like, I can't not say it. Same as the you may ask. Like, it's just a part of my DNA now. So
yeah, you may ask is one of mine. I also do the hey, I'm saying it the wrong way. Hey, it's me. You know, the Han Solo thing when he says it to Luke.
Oh, yeah. Hey,
yeah, I do that. And then I also do Quint. No. It's like if the Flames lose, like, how did the Flames do today? I go, Quint? No.
See, when the Flames lose, I'm like, you're going to need a bigger boat. I try to work in you're going to need a bigger boat as much as I can, but it's less. And people are like, what are you talking about a boat for?
Yeah.
Like, all right, never mind. Right. But what were we? Oh, Star Trek. Okay. Oh, yeah. What was that? I remember what I was getting at. So as Nathan was saying, I think as kind of you guys are both talking about, is it too much? Are they layering in too much? And Nathan was saying, like, can we just get to the fucking point already? What this episode really made me think about was Aliens. The movie.
Like, well,
yeah, Aliens.
At what point did Star Trek make you start thinking about it?
Yeah, I was like, wow, what an insight. Good job.
Only took 30 years.
Oh, they're from outer space.
There you go.
Yeah.
Bravo.
So I just watched Aliens a couple weeks ago. And one of the things about that movie that marvels me, and Cameron's really good at this, but Aliens is like his top cheddar version of this, which is every kind of moment, the stakes escalate and the tension escalates. And it's kind of the frog in a hot plate metaphor where the heat's turned up so slowly that you don't really notice it until you're ready to fucking explode. And Aliens is like that. You're kind of aware of it because it's a tense movie and it just a little bit more and then a little bit more and maybe we're going to give you a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And it never lets its foot off the gas. And it just escalates until you're ready to fucking lose your mind. You're just white-knuckling your way through the end of that. And when I was watching this episode, and yeah, it's a lot, but what's great about this season of Picard is they're doing the same thing. You get an episode, you get character work, you know, they're doing what they're doing, and they bump the stakes up a little bit higher, and then a little bit higher in the next episode, and then it's a little bit higher, and we're going to give you a little bit of break, but nope, but there's this other thing going on. It is a lot, and it is a tricky storytelling line to walk, but I really enjoy having that slow ratchet up of the stakes and the tension at the same time because of it. So
I can agree with you, Jeff. Yeah, I agree with that statement 100%. I think where Nathan's coming from, though, because I'm kind of right in between you guys, what they've done so far is excellent in comparison to the previous two seasons. They're building the tension and the stakes every episode and inserting additional clues and layers, which is great. That's fine. That's what we should be seeing. Now we're in episode 5. Now we're seeing Starfleet's completely compromised, but you have 5 episodes left to go. Mm-hmm. So I think maybe that's where Nate could be a bit worried, and maybe anyone could be a bit worried, is then now we might have a second half that could drag for a couple of episodes.
Like Dragon.
Because now you're seeing Starfleet's compromise, right?
Yeah.
So, like, if you want to find out more about that, now we're just going to go to Daystrom because they're moving, right? They're in warp. So they're going to probably now they're met Worf. We'll talk about that. He's investigating all the stuff about Daystrom, got another clue from the Gangster Vulcan. I'm sure they're all going to meet at Daystrom, and that's where Lore will be, and Geordi's probably going to be there. But there's still the bigger play of Starfleet's completely compromised, and maybe figuring that out could be dragged. Correct.
It just sort of feels like by the end of episode 3, we could have had everything with Rafi and Worf and Picard and Riker meeting up with Beverly and Jack. And then maybe at the very end of episode 3, it's like, okay, like changelings are kind of in the mix sort of thing. And well, I guess that's exactly what we got, wasn't it? But okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Right, but what structure, but like, it hasn't dragged yet.
No, it
and
hasn't
I made
dragged.
this comment before where it's like, the other 2 seasons, you kept waiting for something to happen. We got to episode 5 and fucking nothing had happened yet. And now we're at episode 5 and holy shit, all this stuff has happened. Like, what are we worried about? That too much has happened and they're not going to, they don't have enough runway to resolve it? Or
they might have too much runway.
Well, this is what I was saying. But what I did say is I was a little mixed as to whether or not, like, should we have had that earlier or now? I don't know.
That's fair. We can only make that judgment once the season's done. Like, the first 5 episodes were, up here and then it petered out. Like, we can't tell yet, right?
Yeah. Okay. Let me talk a little bit about Ro. Okay, so I was just as surprised as you were. The unfortunate thing is there was a picture on an entertainment website. Like, I wasn't clicking any articles to read, but they showed the picture of fucking Ro.
Fuck.
Why would they fucking show the picture?
Because they hate you. They hate us.
So it's like, and then the nice thing about it is that underneath they reveal the title of the episode, which is Imposters. Then I closed the website down. That's what I was saying. At least through the episode, you were still second guessing yourself. Yeah. Is she a changeling or not? Because it was talking about imposters and the changeling threat is there. So at least I had that to still
But you knew she was
through. But I knew she was in this episode. And that's just today. Motherfuckers. Show some other fucking picture. Why are you showing Ro? I didn't click on the article. So it's
you gotta there's sites you can't go to because you can't trust that they're not going to do shit like that. Like,
I mean,
I know. I feel for that.
Yeah, so that sucks. So I liked Michelle Forbes, just like Linda Hamilton in the last Terminator movie, though. I do think it took her a tiny bit of time. She didn't step right back in to where I could recognize this is Ro. Probably played on purpose by Forbes because they're trying to have the audience second guess, is she a changeling or not? So finally, once that is resolved, you see her kind of be a little bit Ro in her last couple of scenes with Picard, which I enjoyed. So I liked that. So good job by Michelle Forbes considering that. But I have a bone to pick. This season should not have been about changelings. You're bringing Michelle Forbes back? The whole fucking season could have been about Ro. That's my take. I've always wanted either a movie, and because she didn't have the star power, so a movie's not going to have her as a villain. And I'm not saying she has to necessarily be a villain or an antagonist. But imagine a whole season crafted. Instead of Picard and his fucking son, which I'm still not the biggest fan of. He's lost his family, as we've known about. He's the yearning for what could have been. And he still has that lost, you just talked about, kind of like a father-daughter, mentor kind of relationship with Ro. And she betrayed him. And that could have been a whole season's worth of great storytelling. And Michelle Forbes is a boss. Why didn't we get this as a season? And the whole crew is here. They all love and know Ro or have a beef to pick with her after what happened. This was completely rushed to me. I liked what I saw, but at the same time, I'm mad as hell. And I don't like how they bridge the character just for an Easter egg. That's kind of what it is. It's an Easter egg cameo. Because it's another loose thread. Oh, yeah, good. What about Ro? Oh, yeah, let's throw her in there. And then I know you like the fact that, it ups the stakes. Upping the stakes is not killing off Ro. Upping the stakes is killing off one of the major TNG characters.
Well,
so I didn't feel that. That's my take. It's a hot take.
Hold on a second. If you think she's so important that they could do all of that, then killing her off is upping the stakes. Because we do care about her.
Well, it's a yes and no thing.
It's not it's not like killing off Geordi. Like, that would raise the stakes. Which they're not going to do. So this is a beloved character that
I know, but when you throw her in just for she's on the whole episode. She's in it for 20 minutes.
She's in it. It's not a cameo. She's in it.
Well, that's a cameo. 20 minutes.
No, it's not. A cameo is a scene. Cameo is a scene. We don't need to get into the semantics about it. Cameo is a scene.
I got a bone to pick with. I'm not sure how I feel. If I put big question marks here, how do I feel?
Well, how do you feel? Because they're not doing a whole season with Ensign Ro. Like, they never were going to do it. They're going to bring her back. At least they gave her something to do. And they made it matter.
I hope I feel fine, is your answer.
Yeah, I know you feel. You hate Italian.
That's right. I don't know. That's just my take.
So you shouldn't have brought her back at all, is what you're saying.
I mean, I'm glad I saw Ro. I'm glad that she and Picard had a moment of reconciliation.
But you'd rather they didn't, though. That's what you're saying.
But it's so quick. It's fleeting.
It's quick. It's one episode, and then they But they give resolution to that storyline.
My question to you is, don't you think instead of what we're seeing here, now I see Ro. Don't you think they could have crafted a whole season of Picard and crew versus Ro or dealing with Ro?
Interesting idea that she might have been the villain of an episode. Would that have been great? Sure. But we also know that it's too late.
Chance to bring back Cisco.
It's the final season. We know that, man, if they could figure out how to bring Avery Brooks.
I know, we talk about it every episode. That's how important it is.
We do. Well, it's just as an intellectual exercise, I'm curious. I'm like, man, could they do it? Is it possible? Anyway, like that ship is
Can you force a man to be in a TV show against his will?
I just don't think that's fair to the episode or to her or to the show. Like, you can't do a whole season with her. It's done. It's over. This is the last season. Like, that's just not fair to the moments. I just don't think that's...
It's too quick. Then have her here longer and then kill her off, and I think it would have more of an impact. It's just so she's in and she's out.
I could give you that. Like, give her like 2-3 episodes. Like, have her show up 2 episodes ago and
and then have
shit! Like, I thought she was a part of this. And
I think that would play a lot better for me. Here, it's like I got a few quick scenes and she's dead.
But
and
we got what we needed.
I don't think that does justice to the character. You know what? She had her moment with Picard, but
exactly.
I mean, what about everyone else?
No, but she didn't really have. Riker maybe.
Riker wanted to.
But like, did she need a scene with Beverly?
Why not? Why not?
Because they never talked. They never had a thing before.
Well, anyways,
you know?
I can only tell you how that's my.
I just wasn't sure you had feelings, so I'm just glad to hear that part.
There's some self-improvement
The emotion chip isn't malfunctioning any longer. That is.
It's just angry all the time now.
It's angry. Yeah, it switched to Major Kira mode.
I'm like Data in that episode. Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! That's what I say at work all the time.
Stop it!
That's right.
Stop.
That's correct. Okay, so Ro dies, but she leaves Picard the earring, which has all of her investigation on the infiltration of the changelings in Starfleet. I'm sure they'll get into it a little bit more, but I guess through the earring, she's the handler of Worf. Worf's a handler. She's a handler. So then Worf is contacting Ro, but he meets up with Picard and Riker, and they have a little quick scene, and then the end is Jack Crusher again. I can't recall what happens at the end. He's like having more visions again, right at the end. And again, I'm wondering, I wrote down, are these like supernatural powers from Beverly fucking that ghost in Sub Rosa?
Could be.
It'd be all green. It'd be green mist.
That's right. That's what it should be.
That's why he has that weird English accent.
There you go. He is possessed. So what do you guys think of just the ending of this episode here? Any other thoughts?
Oh, his full, like, John Wick moments?
Yeah. And he goes to Beverly. I don't know what's wrong with it, but something's wrong with it. That's where it ends, I think, right?
Yeah, I just see that red door. I want to paint it black. I don't know what it is. It's weird.
Yeah, it is weird. Any other thoughts? Or do we want to just, talk about get into the final thoughts here?
Got nothing really to say about the red door or anything. It's like, okay. I mean, I
already said my joke. It's fine.
I didn't get the reference, but that's okay.
Oh, it's okay. It's a song by some band that's super duper famous. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
I'm just fucking with you.
I know. No, I know you're fucking with me. It's all good. Again, bravo, sir.
Look up the song Paint It Black. I really liked how Ro took out the nacelle there, and, they got to convince, they're like, I like Riker. He's like, you don't need to trust us. Look at your eyes.
Yeah.
They're
kind of Shaw, you motherfucker, do you finally not know all these changelings on your ship?
Actually, you know what was
now this
great is when they're going down in the turbolift before they meet Ro, and Shaw's humming because he's like,
I can't wait for you guys to get fucked.
I can't wait for you guys to get arrested. This is awesome. I just thought that was great, very funny. He's such an asshole, and it is bordering on the unbelievability of being an asshole, but I don't care. I'm here for it. So this is an interesting piece as well, is now they're being hunted now. They're fugitives on the run. Got kind of like that idea. I think the idea of that dynamic should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, hopefully. But again, I'm worried it's a bit much. Now you have all of these potential, because Riker says they're all going to come for us. So he's going to have Starfleet, you're going to have Vadic and Changelings, and it's stakes are there. They're raised. So
yeah, I mean, I'm into it. I was thinking about, and Harry, you kind of said this before and I forgot, which was that, the season's moving along at a pretty good clip, and I'm like, they kind of need a chill episode, but that was actually episode 4, and I already forgot about that. The only thing that I yearn for, is they can't do it. The structure of the series, they can't do it. It's just like a one-off episode. That's Star Trek, where they go and, Strange New Worlds, go and do some exploration stuff, but that's not what this is.
No.
And that's okay.
That's fine. But yeah, I do yearn for that. I wish we had a season like that with a nice two-parter ending, with maybe minor clues that wrap up in a two-parter. That would have been cool. But anyways.
Yeah, to know that they squandered 2 years of the show, maybe 1.5, because there were decent episodes of season 1, but they squandered so much of what this is. It just makes you think of, like, you watch the season, it's like, fuck, man, like, what could have been? What could have been? This is good.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let's just quickly, like in the last couple minutes here, let's wrap this up. Your thoughts on episodes individually. Episode 4, what'd you think? Episode 5, and that's it. So, Nathan, honor's yours. Go first.
Yeah, I think for both 4 and 5, I think overall I enjoyed it, all quibbles aside. Yeah, I'd recommend, both of them. I think as individual episodes, they actually kind of hold up. And it's one thing I do like about the series so far is that the episodes themselves actually are have a little bit more of beginning, middle, and end. I think a lot of TV series right now kind of fall in this trap where it's just I'm just watching a 6-hour movie. I couldn't really define any one episode. This episode had there's a definition to this episode, and same with episode 4.
Okay, so recommend both of them.
Yeah, I'd recommend both.
Okay, Jeff. Or actually, I'll go Jeff to get the last word. While I do agree that episode 4, we needed a bit of a chill or breather episode, so I'm glad we got that. And episode 5, we're raising the stakes a little bit more. There's lots to like in both episodes. A lot of questions and nitpicks I have on both. Still, I do think that these 2 episodes are a step back for me from the first 3 episodes. So I'm not in love with these 2 episodes, but I do still recommend them, especially in comparison to what we got in the previous 2 seasons, which were atrocious. These 2 episodes are not atrocious, so that's all I got, and still looking forward to the rest of the season there. So Jeff, you get the last word.
There's 2 levels working for me here. So the first one is that I really enjoy the show. It's not perfect, and it has problems, but for all the problems, kind of don't care. And for me, I don't know about you guys, but, if I'm going through whatever it is, a TV show, movie, a book, looking at a painting, which I know we all do all the time, the best stuff isn't the stuff that's flawless, isn't this perfect shit. It's the shit that succeeds despite the flaws that it has inherently. Star Trek is kind of like that often, and this show was on that level for me. Yeah, it's got fucking problems, man, but the fact that I'm in on it and it's still really good, that kind of tells you how good it is that I'm willing to just be yeah, that's fine. It succeeds despite its flaws. That works for me. It's great. I'm so happy with it. And then the other level on it is I'm so excited to do the show with you guys because there's so much to talk about. We don't agree about lots of it, and we agree about lots of it. It's so much more fun to talk about it. I don't think we did reviews of season 2 of Picard, Harry. I don't remember. I don't know we did season 1.
No. We did a season 2, 1 episode after it finished.
Right. But we did season 1.
Which was still fun, even though it was a drag, even though it was a slog.
Yeah. Well, exactly.
It's still fun to talk about.
It was fun to talk about, but it was a slog. But this, it's so much more fun to talk about. So, yeah, watch it. Obviously, if you're listening to this, you're fucking watching the show. Do I recommend it? Yeah, man. They're doing awesome stuff on here. It's not perfect. And, if you can get over that, then you're going to have a hell of a time. And just really happy that after 5 episodes of this, we're not hoping it's going to get good like we were in the first 2 seasons. Okay, man, they're going to turn it around. They're going to turn it around. They got this. They got this. They didn't got this. But this season, so far, so good.
Halfway done. So far, so good. Yeah. A couple things could be better, but pretty good so far. All right, just to call it a night, guys, as we're at an hour and a half here. So that's it for today. We'll be back in 2 weeks to review episodes 6 and 7. Jeff, you'll run that show. So I guess that's a pod, boys.
Right on. This is podcasting. I can't get the line right.
Yeah. No. Now this is podcast.
This is podcast. Now this is podcast. There we go.
There we go.
Get it better.
No. All right. You guys have yourselves a good night.
All right.
All right. See you guys.